Hello Flosstube and welcome to my channel. I am Rita Marie and in this channel you basically are watching my adventure when it comes to cross stitching. So I'm not going to go into updates too much just because things aren't going that good. So I'm just gonna leave it with that. I am trying to deal with it, and I hope that things will soon go back to more of a normal stand. So thank you to everybody that has commented and asked about me and been worried since it is a long time since last you did see me. Thank you so much. It means a whole lot to me. Really, it does. Thank you. So most likely I'm not able to be that fully cheerful me that I am, but we just have to go with it. I got some free time this afternoon. It's March the 20th. I got some free time after I put my son to bed. So I am just jumping into this and trying to get you caught up with everything. There is a lot to show. Not because I have stitched that much, but because I have stitched on so many different things. Because of magical stitches rules my life still. And yeah, and there was something that happened in one of the stitchy groups I'm in. I'm not going to go into details, but it did take away my stitchy bug. You think sometimes that just doing what the challenge actually says is enough, and apparently that time it wasn't, and it really bummed me out. So after that I have struggled with my stitchy bug and just the whole thing of stitching, but I still feel like I really want to support my house in magical stitches, so I am trying as hard as I can and at least do the homeworks. And sometimes I have tried to do some of the extra credits, and from my schedule I am really far behind. But at the same time, I am ahead on the yearly challenges because I have done half of them. I have done 11 of 22 yearly challenges so far. So if all I can do is the weekly and the monthly now, it's not a big deal. It will be fine. I still have a lot of time to get my stitchy bug back and get caught up with everything. So, and in all honesty, since last time, I can't remember half of what I did show you, how far I am. I will of course insert pictures so you can see how far I did get since last time. And but most of the whips I'm not sure that I can actually show you what I have done and what I haven't done, but I will try my best, that I can promise you. And since I have lost my stitchy bag, I have just started to make these little cards. And basically what I am doing is um, I am writing down the whip, the name, the designer, fabric, if I stitch 1/1, 2/2. I just call it stitched. Needle minders, because I know I'm terrible at remembering and telling you about my needle minders. I have made room to write progress, so for each time, basically my plan is for each time I am going to do a Flosstube update, I want to check and see how far I have gotten and write it down, and then it's easier for me if it takes some time in between. If I have stitched on something several times in the monthly span because of the magical stitches, I will easier see where I was. Some notes if there is special thing to comment, my goals, and how big the whip is. And I do it mostly for myself because, as you most likely will see in this video, one of my big problems is when my illness gets really bad, I struggle with my words. I struggle with saying things. I struggle with remembering what I'm supposed to say. And having these will help me have something to look at if my brain just stops working for some seconds, and I can see basically what I was supposed to tell you about the different whips, etc., etc. So I'm just in the making of these. They are not done. I also, when it's full coverage, this is one of the earlier ones. As I'm making these, they are getting better and better because as I'm doing them, I can see better what I want and stuff like that. So I'm also doing like this so I can see what pages I have fully done, and I have also marked some of the ones I have a good chunk of the page done but they're not finished, to also have and give you an idea of how far I am, and for myself to visually see how far I am. So, and if I find that they work really good, I will most likely also make one each time I film, just where I write down stuff like what whips belong to what in the magical stitches. So since they're not done and I'm just in the making of them, I haven't really written down anything special. We will just go with what I have. I will try the best as I can to remember and say fabric, what whip it is, designer, all that good stuff. And if there is something you want to know, then please just ask me. I will not get mad. You can ask me like 10 times what fabric I stitched my lady and the tiger on, and I will not get mad because I know, since I struggle so much and since I am so ill right now, that is hard for me basically. So it's easier if you leave a comment on the Flosstube, and when I see it I can go and double check and write to you what it was. Of course, if I have the details. So I also want to say that I know last week YouTube did something weird. It suddenly made one of the A to C stitch with me that I'm doing. I'm pre-filming and then just uploading and letting it go to YouTube, and YouTube publish them as they are supposed to be published. And suddenly it had copied one of the videos by itself. I have no clue how. So I went in and removed one, and I didn't think more over it because it was just an accident that I saw that it had put out two. So I removed just one of them. And apparently it had copied, just not copied that one video by itself somehow. I don't know if it's anything I did, if it was something wrong in the uploading process, anything, I don't know. But apparently it did make the other videos, it did bump the other videos to later dates. So the dates I had written down, they were supposed to be posted on, because I do write it down. So I have a paper at my stitchy spot, so I always can see, okay, I need to film now because I am behind. And apparently suddenly those dates didn't wasn't as they was supposed to be. And yeah, so it just didn't happen. So there is 2 more videos scheduled. They will be on Friday and next Friday, unless YouTube bugs up again. And I hope and I have to in the next 2 weeks get some filming in on my Frosty Forest, so you can also see that, how far I have, not see that, so I can do the A to C stitch with me. Okay, now I am starting to ramble too much, so let's go over to what we're here for, the whips. I have a lot to show you, and I will just dig through my pile and see what I have. Some of these I will be able to remember what I did and didn't do for magical stitches, and some of them I have no clue at all. So it is what it is. First up is my fantasy world. It is going to look like this. And here is the last time you saw it. And here it is now. So it's basically a bunch of sky. I did manage to get done the 2,400 stitches for by the numbers in the full coverage fanatic group, and that's where I ended. So it's, I had hoped to maybe get a page finished, but with the magical stitches I can't be monogamous and get both of those going. And if there is some goals that I'm not reaching in 2019, I will not cry over it, because 2019 is the opportunity to be in the magical stitches, because it is now. There is no indication or no reason that it should continue next year. So I will rather do that this year, and then next year I can more focus and be more monogamous as I had planned to be. Not totally, but only do like 3 or 4 whips a month was my plan. But I can't do that. So now I'm doing a semi thing. So next up on the list is A Legend of the Blue Sea. I did get one more day on that one. So here's a picture of what it will look like. And a picture what it did look like the last time you saw it. And here it is now. So that's what I have done so far. It's starting to looking really nice. Every metallic you see in here I have converted because it's not metallic in. So this harp is 3 different shades of gold metallic. Yes, 3 different ones, and I love how it looks. You can see here there isn't any stitching here because I am putting in beads here, some of the open spaces in her hair, some of the places around here there is going to be like bubble like single blue stitches, and I'm going to do them as beads and make it look more bubble like. So that's where I'm at on that one. My goal for 2019 is to finish this, and at least I hope with what the Harry Potter books is going to have as a thematic going forward, especially the next book. I hope that mermaids will be, or something about the sea, the water will be one of the challenges, and I am going to use my mermaid. I could have used her this week, but I didn't because I am not feeling well, so I basically did what I wanted as long as it did fit. So, but more about that when we get to there. Then I did stitch some more on my Cinderella. Here is what she is going to look like. Stacy from Atlantica Dream Stitches is so nice that she is borrowing me the pattern, and she told me that I could use the kit also because it was a kit. So here I am now. I am almost over to this side that I did in the start, and basically I know I worked some here in the greenery and this roof of the castle. So I haven't stitched in her in a long time, and you will see why, because there has been another lady suddenly taking my attention and just really making me fall in love with her. So me and my big ladies, that's one of my weaknesses. So then I got one day on my Haunted Mansion sale. Most likely it was for Magical Stitches, and I have no clue what I did, what it was for, but there has been a lot of magical. The Haunted Mansion has been one of the whips that has been really, I have been able to fit it in a lot of different challenges if I wanted, and some of them I did and some I managed to find something else. So here is what it will look like. and what it looked like the last time you saw it. And here it is now. And of course, as I looked at this, look at that moon. Love the moon. As I looked at this, I remembered I worked down here in the tree and the ghost. So that's how far I have gotten. And it looks really good. I haven't really any hurry to finish this up. We don't usually decorate to Halloween. This is more one for my own pleasure. I have converted the ghost to be in DMC light effects, glow in the dark. The needle minders are both made by me. So I'm not hurrying with this one, and since I know it fit the magical stitches for so many challenges and most likely will in the future also, I'm not concerned. I have already most likely gotten more done than I ever thought I would get done this year on that one. Then I had a restart. So what you see is not where it was the last time, so I'm not bothering to show you because everything you see is new on this, and it is a whip that has been started and frogged and started and frogged, and the fabric has been re-dyed a bunch of times. Now when I stitched on it, I stitched the whole lot, managed to be able to be 1 stitch or 2 stitches off. It would be noticeable, at least for me, so I had to frog it, restitch. So it's basically just my re-stitching whip from now on. And I'm just trying to fold it so it will be easier to show you. It's my epic storybook princesses. This is how it's going to look like. And here I am now. So the yellow here, it's really difficult to see. I don't know if it's because the lighting is so bad, but you can see it better in real life. And as you can see, the border is variegated. It's not supposed to be that way, no. I decided I wanted to change things up. So I went through all my fancy floss, and I was so insecure if anything I had in the cottons, over dyed, hand dyed, if I had enough. So I ended up just looking to see if I had anything that could work. And immediately when I saw this, Hank from Silks For You, I fell in love. This is just perfect for epic storybook princesses on the fabric I have it on. That is a hand dyed by me. It's an 18 count. It has been dyed 3 times, then put in chlorine and then washed out the chlorine, and I was happy with the color basically. So really nice colors there. It's PRO 40, and when I opened it up I realized there was some yellow spots on the hank, so I contacted Silks For You and they sent me a whole hank for free, which is amazing service because if I were to cut out those yellow spots, maybe I would be missing like 1/4 of the hank. But I got a full new hank, so that's awesome. I also found some other silks to use in the border. So here is PRO40. When I have cut it down, because I'm not working with the full hank, I am pulling out some lengths that I measure up on my ruler and then cut off and just put them in floss away bags and work with them from there. I know maybe I should do like cake the silk or something, but I really don't want it to be messed up, so instead I am just really careful each time I take it out and pull out some strands that it doesn't tangle up. This is Silks for You Silk of the Month, this yellow. That's what I'm using. You saw on the border that almost didn't show up. I am going to use another Silks for You on the next border that divides the pattern. All of these are Silk of the Month, so you really can't get them. I'm sorry. But most likely, if you buy something like a grab bag from Silks for You, you most likely will be able to get some of the colors or similar. Because this is from a grab bag, so I have no clue where it is from. And lastly, this pink one, Silk of the Month, and a green one, Silk of the Month. All of those are going to be the dividers of the pattern, going from top to bottom. And then I have some white silk that I use for everything white in the border, not on the patterns. It's not on the patterns itself, just on the border. The green I am using on the flowers on the border. I also using the other green that is in the dividers. The same with the light pink that is in the dividers on the border, and this darker one is used in the flower. So you can see here is the yellow and the white. This is the PRO40, and here you can see this light green is going to be the border further down. This darker green for the leaf. This light pink is also one of the dividers, and the darker one in the middle, like really popping out there, is the one I showed you. It's only going to be those few stitches. So that's how it's looking so far. And this green little blob of color right here is part of one of Cinderella's stepsister's dress I started. So because I am not going to do them the way it is on, it is done from Cloud's Factory. Cloud's Factory has just put out a way you can do it if you want, and it's basically chronological, going from the top down, middle section top down, right section top down. But when I read, I don't read this way, and this way. I read from left to right, and that way all the time, top to bottom. And I think that's how most people read in Europe, US, Australia, and so on. So I am basically going to do, so instead of doing everything the wrong side for me now, so instead of doing Snow White, Cinderella, and the next one I can't remember right now, I'm doing Snow White, Cinderella, and the next one that is coming. In the chronological order of when the Disney movie was. So Snow White is the first one, so that is first off. And it's just, this pattern has only the Disney movies that has Disney princesses. So after Snow White, it would be Pinocchio, but it's not because he is not a princess. I'm sorry, Pinocchio, but you're not. So that was my epic storybook princesses. That one was used for at least the last homework assignment in February for year 2. Year 2 is basically when we read book number 2, The Chamber of Secrets. That challenge was about Dobby and the fact that he was being freed, so we can stitch anything we wanted, 200 stitches, and for each 200 stitches we did get 1 point, I believe. And I think I managed to do something like 8 or 9 of those 200 stitches. There was also some other homeworks I did for it, and I can't remember them. But you saw there was a whole lot of stitching. That castle is massive. There is a bunch of stitches in it. I don't think I'm lying if I say there's closer to 4,000 stitches there, maybe 3,000 stitches. So yeah, especially since I managed to do some massive mistakes. I'm not talking about small ones. I'm talking about having to frog all of one of the borders with all the swirlies, frogging everything and redoing them, because the border needs to be perfect for the patterns to fit inside where it's supposed to be inside. So one stitch too little will mess everything up, and I'm not going to fudge that big of a project in such a big scale, because that meant if I'm doing something wrong on the border, I have to fudge everything. So yeah, that's not happening. So, but I still love it, and one of the main reasons I decided to pick it up and start it for real is the fact with magical stitches, you sometimes need objects or animals or something that I just don't have right now, or are getting less and less, especially since I am focusing to try and finish off some whips. And just because my whips doesn't have that big of a variation, but the epic storybook princesses do have that. And when I was saying this, I remembered we have to do some stitches to protect ourselves against the basilisk. And I think I used it for the basilisk attack that happened in February. You had to stitch on something that will be reflective, like in the Harry Potter books. The kids and the cat don't die because they see the basilisk in the reflection. So we had to stitch on one of those, and that one I think had every one of those. Maybe missing one object, something like that. So that's why I decided to focus a lot on my epic storybook princesses, so you can clearly see it got a lot of attention. And I'm happy about that. So from now on, I hopefully can use that if there's nothing else I have to use instead. So next up, I did stitch on my Be Inspired. The reason I stitched on it, I don't remember. But I pulled it out, and the last part of February and beginning of March, the most thing that has happened is me frogging a lot. So here is what it was last time. And here it is now. And all of this is also going to be frogged. I just didn't bother to frog it right now. So I'm doing a skin conversion on the trust. I know Michelle Bendy did one. I'm not doing exactly the one she did because I am using one of the brown colors that is called for in the project, and just found one that was a little bit lighter and did the stitching on that. So you can see I just concentrated on finishing that up. So all this is also going to be frogged, but everything here is okay. I was 3 stitches off when stitching my way up. There was 3 stitches missing. That is what happens when I try to trail off and go to the top and not filling in. I should rather have just started in the top, but there is a lot of fabric, extra fabric on the sides, top and bottom, that those 3 stitches will be okay, that I am not centered on the fabric. The fabric is a 14 count fabric, hand dyed by me. This needle minder is from No Name's needle minder. I won in full coverage Fanatic. I think it was something like, yeah, I won a gift certificate and ordered myself some needle minders. So this one has Harley Quinn, since she has a lot of tattoos, and Be Inspired is basically a pattern inspired by tattoos, or tattoos that it looks like tattoos. Let's just say that. So she's on there. So that's what I did on my Be Inspired. Then next up is my Lion King. You most likely will see a good amount of progress on this since last time, because I did the 1200 stitches for February, and I have finished the 1200 stitches for March, both by the numbers by Full Coverage Fanatics. So there is a lot of new stitches on the whip. So let's just see if I can find the picture. So this is what it's going to look like. It's Lion King, one of the Disney Dreams collection, one of those cropped one from the bigger picture. I was so lucky to Julie from Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World sent me, and I'm making this for my son. So, and here it was the last time you saw it. And here it is now. So most of the sky that isn't yellow is done. As you can see, I am about here when it comes to stitching, right before the yellow colors are appearing. I am also starting to get most of this done, so I basically just have a tiny bit down here and finish off this section of the sky. Then all the non-yellow section of the sky is done. This right here is at the beginning of Mufasa's head. I'm saying Mufasa, it might be Simba, and that's Kiara, but in my head, this is Mufasa, this is Simba, and this is Sarabi. So, because for me, this is the beginning of the Lion King and not the end. So, and if I'm going to stitch Lion King, I really want to have Mufasa on there. So yeah, my plan is for if there's not a reason to pull it out for magical stitches, I used it for a bunch of magical stitches also. At the same time, I was able to finish all those stitches by the numbers. So next time, my plan is to work down here and get this done, or do like Mufasa something. I'm in a mood that I'm going to do what I want to do. This is stitched on a 25 count easy count fabric by Swigert. No, 28 count easy count fabric by Swigert. It's stitched 2/2, and the needle minders you can see is from Creatively Crafting. She had I think it was Black Friday sale that if you ordered 8 of her needle minders, you did get free shipping. And for me, that is pretty amazing to get free shipping. Because shipping to Norway usually is a lot. So, yeah. That's where I am with that one. So let me see. Then the only thing left in February is also one of the whips that I have worked a lot of in March. I have fallen totally in love with this whip. Each time I put it away, I feel a little sad and I want to bring it back out. When I was done with one of the challenges, I immediately pulled this out and was like, okay, I just need to put a few stitches in. Just a few stitches because I am totally in love. This is my Cinderella in Rags and Riches by Joan Elliott. And this is where it was the last time you saw it. Here it is now. So it really looks amazing. I actually had to frog this one also, but it was my own mistake because the pattern said that you couldn't put them on the same piece of fabric, and you can. The only thing I didn't notice is that there is going to be a star here in the middle in metallics, and that star wouldn't be symmetrical on all 4 sides if I just put the patterns beside each other. I had to overlap by 1 stitch. So I basically had to frog everything that was here up to about to where you can see that there isn't holes anymore in the middle, and up to the top here, and frog the 2 first stitches and then stitch it back down again. So I get that. So I basically did one stitch too much because I want those two rows to overlap and not be two single ones. So here it is a little bit closer up. And I am stitching this on a 32 count Murano. I think it's by Swigert, and I hand dyed it myself. Yeah, it's hand dyed by me, and I stitching it 1/1, but no, 1/2. But the skin I am doing 1/1, and it looks amazing. She did look a little alien-like when I didn't have the back stitching, so I did the back stitching, and it looks amazing. She is so pretty, and I love how the skin looks. There you can also see some of that lovely sparkle. There is a lot of Kreinik in there, and it's going to be even more. And all those empty spaces is either Kreinik or beads. So this girl, I am totally in love with her. All I needed to do was get to her hair and start stitching on her hair, and after that I was in love. So she has gotten a lot of attention, a lot of stitches in. There is a lot of details in this one, so it's really easy for me to get it to work for magical stitches. She has a broom in her hand, so I use this for when we needed to go to Diagon Alley in the first week of year 3, first week in March basically, when we started the 3rd book, to buy some new acquisitions for our school year. So I used this for the broom, and I could have used it for more, but I at that time I tried to reduce myself how much I did stitch on her. Failed miserably because I have stitched a ton after that. She has a cloth in her hand, and she has a bucket with water on the floor because she is currently cleaning. There is also some pumpkins on the floor. So I managed for this week, it is the 5 new classes in Harry Potter. You are going to do 1 whip for each. You can just do 3 of them if you want, but if you do all 5 and make all 5 fit those different studies, you get 10 extra points. I have done that. So I haven't gotten the points yet, but I know everything was approved by the admin, so I know those stitches, those points are mine because I have done the stitches. So since washing like the physical way with a bucket of water and cloth and go around cleaning is a very muggle thing to do, I use this for muggle studies. I also used it for one of the challenges in Semi-Science Stitchers, the Stitchers District. But I had done the stitches, 1,000 stitches, and I put those against Ultimate Yearly Challenge in Magical Stitches. On this one for District 4 Fishing, but I was too late on actually getting it to post because Facebook has been awful all since, for me, the end of February. So the big one that everyone know of now, that actually did fix a lot of my problems. Before that, I had a lot of problem with Facebook. There is still some issues, especially when I am posting on a post or commenting on a post or comment on a comment on a post. It sometimes just will not post for me, even though I have written it down. I have pushed that it's supposed to post it and it doesn't do it. So yeah, Facebook has issues. But this one is lovely. So basically she is the reason I haven't been stitching too much on my Cinderella, because with having 2 full coverage projects that I need to get done the stitches for by the numbers, I and the magical stitches and everything going on, I just don't have a lot of time to focus on other whips. And if I remember, I will talk more about that in my plans afterwards, because I want to go a little bit back as to how I did it in the beginning, because right now I'm not doing anything special extra except for the magical stitches, and that is bad. Then in the beginning of March, I started a new whip. I finished it and I FFO'd it together with another whip I had done a long time ago that needed to be FFOing. And it was my starter Pokemon for Generation 4. There isn't really a picture of it because it is a test stitch I am doing, and that is why I justified doing it, because it wasn't for myself, it was a test stitch. And I am allowing myself to do test stitch this year, because then I basically get the pattern. And I know Leo really loves Pokemon, so this is Turtwig from the 4th generation in Pokemon. And on the same pattern, you had also Chimchar. And it's put it on glittery background. And lastly, Piplup. That is the 3 starter Pokemons in Generation 4. And this is a cross stitch by K Warning or 8-bit stitch. And since I am supporting her on Patreon, I was able to put myself up for test stitching, so I did. And when I had done the 2nd generation I said to her that if there was any more she wanted to have done or needed to get done, then she could contact me and I could do them. And she needed someone to do Generation 4, so I did. And hopefully I will, when they come out to sale, I will get all of them, and I'm going to finish all of them in this manner as coasters. So this is a coaster. There is plastic all around, so it's no danger to use it. So, and my son absolutely love it. We are sitting and eating, he is then deciding who are getting which one. And since I was in the finishing mood for coasters, I had these dragons I did do, so I finished off. I love the fabric. It's a fabric I hand dyed myself, so I did use all of the fabric for this, and I just finished it with a nice pattern on the back, so it looks nice on the back also, since I don't like with this one there is like a nice paper on the front, so yeah. And also to have something behind, so especially since it's Ada, that it's not showing through holes or anything. I use this one because on the other side of this it's completely white, so it makes for a good good to have in the back of the fabric. And the green one, this is my son's favorite. He always wants the green dragon. And Mama, she is always getting the blue dragon, and I love him so much for that because I love blue. And that means my husband is the pink dragon. So yeah, that's fun. So he currently loves these, and I also did make a bunch of these last year, but I gave everything away because it was Christmas presents. So it was nice to finally make someone and actually use it for yourself. Next up is my temperature garden. Can't remember what I used it for, but I have put it on my Omni frames. And I actually love stitching on these frames. 1/1 stitching in hand, I think maybe that is not a thing I'm so fan of on even weave or linen. Aida is fine because it's Aida. But even weave or linen, not so much. So getting it on these frames and getting a really good tension when stitching is lovely. So you can see a little bit more colors popping out there. I was considering using this for arithmancy, yeah, one of those classes. I have always said arithmancy in my head, so that's most likely what I'm going to use. Sorry if it's totally wrong and it annoys you. But I didn't do it because instead I managed to fit this whip into 2 of the classes. This is a whip that I haven't touched in a long while. I think I have stitched on it 2 times, and both was in the same week when I started it, and just a few days later just to get a little bit more done, and after that it hasn't been touched. And it was started the 11th of January 2018. So it's over a year since I last touched this one. It is the one I call Cinderella on a Clock. I don't remember the real name because it didn't have a real name when I bought it, because I bought it by Cute Patterns by Maria before she was on Etsy. So here is what it looked like the last time you saw it. And here it is now. And basically why I could use this for 2 classes is because she is sleeping on a clock with Roman numerals. And for one thing, Roman numerals is numbers, so it counts for arithmancy. And as a bonus, if you really don't know Roman numerals, like just looking at them and you know what it is, you actually have to do some math to figure out what number the different one represent is. And also, Roman numerals is from an ancient writing language where a lot of the different symbols they use in the Roman numerals were symbols by itself and represented, it was standalone symbols basically, like a very rune-like alphabet, and that later was copied and used for runes. If you know the Vikings, they used a runic alphabet. In Norway, there is a lot of different places where there was a lot of Viking activity where you can see those runes, and some of the picture they did write down on stones that has been preserved. One of those places is my hometown called Jørpeland, and there was one big Viking chief from that area. So there is also a Viking graveyard for the royalty in the Vikings and so on. So those Roman numerals, the letters that is used to make out the different numbers and are representing numbers, are actual runic letters used in the runic alphabet. So that's why I could use this for both of those. So I did 400 stitches, actually a little bit more, because Russian designers, especially the ones I know of that is Russian designers, are really good with doing half stitches and full crosses, and differentiating about them. They also use different thickness when you do the back stitching. So some is back stitch with 1 strand, 2 strand, 3 strands, and it gives so much dimension and depth to the picture. I just love it. And I fell totally in love when I stitched on this yesterday, and was a little bit sad I didn't have an excuse to pick it up again. And that is a way of thinking I am doing that I need to quit doing if I am going to get my stitching bug back. The fabric is a 14 count Aida that is hand dyed by me. So, and I actually really love it for this pattern. Since it's so bad lighting, it's really hard to see, but this stitching is popping up a little bit more, those half stitches, but just a tiny bit. It's awesome. I love it. So I need to get back to, I need to get time and stitch for reels on her, because she has never gotten the attention that she deserves. Since I am doing this week's homework, let's just finish it off. There's 2 classes left. One of them is divination. And for some reason last week, I didn't remember that there was teacups in this one. So I didn't do it for that challenge or one of the extra credits when I did that for divination, because teacups is a big deal in divination, especially if you read the 3rd book of Harry Potter, because one of the things they do early on is they take a teacup and they fill it with tea, then they drink it, and then they read the tea leaves in the bottom. So what's left in the bottom, they turn the cup upside down on the plate the teacup is on, and they am like supposed to read what they can see in those tea leaves. And here you can clearly see it is teacups. I have all 12 patterns of this. It's the Brooke Books Alice in Wonderland series. This is the Dormouse. He is in the middle of the row I am doing, because yes, I am doing a full row for these 12 whips. Hand dyed this myself. It is a 18 count, and I am doing it 2/1. So here is the last time you saw it. basically I finished this mushroom off. I just had the stem, so I stitched the top, and I started this plate where there is a teacup standing. So this is the hank of the teacup, and I did a little bit of black checkerboard, and I started this purple checkerboard. There's just 2 of those, so I stopped it right before it was finished, because then I had my 200 stitches. And I did also this heart that is in this cake. This is a cake standing on a plate. So yeah, there is a lot to go, and this is just one of 12. So yeah, I need to work some more on this. And this also, when I picked it back out again, I really loved stitching on it. And that is probably my newest motto going on, because everything I pick up and stitch on for magical stitches, I love. I have even fallen in love with my temperature garden. So it's a thing. Love is in the air, apparently. So yeah, that's my the dormouse. And I do hope to pick out this one also a little bit more. So the last one for this week's homework is also a whip that hasn't gotten much love. And I decided this time to change up how I am going to stitch on it. And for Care of Magical Creatures, dragons were allowed, Pegasuses were allowed, unicorns were allowed, mermaids were allowed. So I had so many whips I could bring out. But I have been thinking a long time about this whip. It's a piece that means a lot to me, so I have really struggled with picking it up, because there's so much emotion in it. And yeah, this is the pattern. Minnie's still here. The angel, if you have followed me for a while, you know what this means to me. So here is what it was last time. And here it is now, what I have done. So I finished off everything here, and I started working my way over just one stitch on the top border, and did some of the colors a little bit downwards, just so I keep count of where I am in the pattern without having to count. And I'm going to work my way over all the 3 pages just to see that the place I did start is correct. Because I used just the easy count fabric to decide that, and that really scares me. So I am going to work one stitch over all the way, and then I will most likely work my page by page downward. That's where I am at that one. And Angel was approved from Care of Magical Stitches, so that is the last class I did do. I have one new start, and that is because it was half stitch started. That is because I need those specialty stitches for semi-science stitchers that I dropped out of because I didn't post in time. And all of this border right here is a fan stitch. Yeah, fan stitch. And this is what I have so far on this one. So I basically stitched the border, a good chunk of it, the 20 different specialty stitches I needed to finish the semi-science stitchers challenge, and I am going to pick it up and do some more for one of the extra credits in magical stitches. The one you are supposed to stitch 500 stitches on something map related or town street related, and this is a house, and a house you can find on a street. So I'm going to use this one. So, and I have to say, these are my first specialty stitches if you don't count back stitching or French knots, and I think they look amazing, especially in that dark red color. The color is much more deep red than showing up here. It almost looks a little bit orange, and the fabric is a much more ecru color than the cream that is showing up. So yeah, that's what I get for filming late. So the last whip that I have worked on, I have recently picked it up. It's a whip a lot of you love. It's a whip I love. It's one of my big girls. It's the pattern Forventning, or as I just call it, Lady and the Tiger. The word Forventning is actually translated more like anticipation. You're waiting for something and anticipating something happening. And that's the name of the pattern in Norwegian, because since I bought it through a Norwegian store, that is the name I was given the pattern. So it's a kit by Luca S. It has anchor floss and Swigert fabric. Here I am now. She's back on the frame because I am missing 1,400 stitches on her. So I use this one for one of the extra stitching challenges is stitch on something that makes you happy. And one of the other stitching challenges for extra credit is if you have done every stitching challenge so far, do one of the extra stitching credits twice. So I decided to do the happy one to make my Patronus charm, because if you have read the Prisoner of Azkaban, you know that Harry needs to train a lot to actually be able to do the Patronus charm to get the Dementors away. So this is a piece that I love, and so for the second time I did that challenge, I decided to do it with this whip. There is also a challenge, extra credit challenge, to do 500 stitches of black for serious black, and you can see I did black and some black up here. And the worst part, this black section is not halfway done because it's going over here. It's huge, it's massive. It's this black section right here. You can see how big it is. I have done this and some of this, and now gone down and done most of this, but there's still a lot to go. So a lot of black, but that's fine. I needed 500 and I could do them easily on this one. So that is all my whips. It's a long one, you guys. I haven't even gotten to plans. I knew there would be a lot, and that is why I just wanted to get this Flosstube done now, or else I would never do a Flosstube where I did get you caught up on everything, because this is a lot. So my plans going forward is I need to change my own way of looking at stitching right now. Because of magical stitches, I started that in the beginning of January. When it did start up, I was one of the first ones. I have looked a whole different way of stitching. I have always looked at stitching as get the homework done, then do the extra credits, then do the yearly ultimate challenges, and make the whips I have that I am using for by the numbers. I'm just making them fit some of the homeworks and extra credits, so it becomes the exact number I need or a little bit over in total. And I am very frugal in the way I do stitch. I never waste any stitches, and that is how I've been thinking all the time. If I am stitching something, do not waste the stitches. The only exception there has been my Frosty Forest, and that has not gotten almost any love because of this. So I need to sit down and get stitching on that. I need to sit down and just stitch on my Lady and the Tiger. Don't worry about that it has to fit something in the magical stitches. And maybe just sit and stitch a little bit without having to count stitches and so on, because I think the counting of stitching is really getting to me. So yeah, as I said, I have done 11 of the 22 yearly challenges. I am halfway. I was halfway in the beginning of March. So technically, if I wanted, I could be done with all of those challenges in May. April. End of April? Now. No, maybe? No, not since I haven't done so much in March, but maybe the end of May. I technically could be done, just going in the same rhythm that I did the first 2 months. So yeah, I need to go back to my original thinking, where I have assigned like this whip, that I am assigning it 10 days. Those 10 days was originally 7 days, but I did increases to 10 days when I started magical stitches, and then everything just did fall apart when I lost my stitchy bug, and it has been away for a long while now. Almost a big chunk of March. And since I haven't been so good in my personal life, there is stuff happening and stuff going on that is just draining me of power. So I'm not functioning at all. Today is the first day I took a shower in almost 2 weeks, I think. Yeah, because the last time I showered, I just washed my hair over the bathtub. That is something I do if I am too tired to stand up and be able to shower all over my body, and it makes me feel a little bit better than at least my hair is washed. Because when the hair becomes to start real nasty, then I feel even worse. So I sometimes just wash my hair over the bathtub and kind of like just call it a day. So yeah, that is not something I normally do. I normally do shower 2 to 3 times a week at least. I have very dry skin, so I don't have a need to shower each and every day. And in honesty, I'm not doing that much. I am sitting a lot. I am very still a lot of the time, so I'm not sweating or anything. Or so yeah, I don't have the need to shower every day, and it takes too much energy. So every third day is my normal thing to do. So 2 weeks, that's a warning sign for me that things aren't good, things aren't going well. And so yeah, so we'll just see how March and April is continuing. I'm not making any promises when I'm coming back. I had hoped to maybe be able to do updates each week again, since there is so much going on in the magical stitches. And back to plans, because my head has trailed totally off. My plan is to have 3 whips, maybe 4, that I am assigning periods of the month to that whip. And that means if I have stitched everything I need for homework that week, I basically don't feel like doing the extra credit or yearly ultimate challenges or something like that, I am going to just stitch on the whip that is assigned. So if it's the Lady and the Tiger, I am stitching on the Lady and the Tiger. And since I didn't stitch on her in February to be able to reach my goal, I need to stitch more on than those 2,400 stitches a month. And I know I could do 3,600 stitches on this one for by the numbers, but I also really want my Lion King to get done. So that is one of my second whips that is going to have a period to work on. And if I can make it work for the homeworks or something like that, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to try, as long as there is not extra points to be earned. Really, there has been a long time where there were no extra points to be earned before this week. You can do the forfeit stitches and just do double amount of stitches and finish the challenge. It doesn't matter what piece it is. So my plan is to do that. And if I do the forfeit stitches on this one, then I will in a way allow myself to do more extra credit stitches and get those done. So my plan is to basically each week do homework, do 2 of the extra credit stitches, and then stitch on the assigned whip. If I use the assigned whip for the homework, I can increase to do 4 extra credits or do 2 extra credits and 1 yearly, because that is approximately the same amount of stitches. Or if I've done all the extra credits, then I switch out 2 extra credits for 1 yearly, basically. And do that. So that is what I am going to try and do. I am also working on getting a list done over the whips I want to focus on, where I will write down, where I'm basically write down the whip and write down a lot of the items in the whip. So when it comes to homework, I can look at that list first and see if I have anything that fits. So I will have one for the ones that have highest priority, middle priority, and lowest priority. lowest priority will be something like my epic storybook princesses. It's a whip I would love to finish, but it's more for myself. It's not something I am hurrying up to finish, because if I do, I will burn myself out because it's such a big project. And it's basically just a nice project to have a lot of stuff going on in the whip, so I can easily use it for challenges. So that is my plan, and I hope all that organizing and me planning and scheming and all that sweet stuff, I hope that brings my stitchy bug back, because it normally does. When I sit down and I organize, or I improve my organization in some way, that usually gets my stitchy bug back, because I really want to try it out, what I have planned, what I want to do. So yeah, I really hope that I can get at least my stitchy bug back, because one of the things keeping me sane, keeping me alive, is stitching. Now when I am really weak, most of the time I sleep. I sleep until afternoon, usually. So most of the day is slept away, because I'm just not feeling good. I'm not feeling good mentally. And when I'm not feeling good mentally, I'm not feeling good physically, and my chronic illness worsens, and it's just a bad circle. And when I'm not sleeping, and if I don't feel like stitching, I am either just sitting in the couch watching TV, or sitting upstairs playing video games. That has actually been an improvement, because sitting and playing, you are a little bit more active in a way, in your brain, your cognitive functions, and lately those have been really bad. So doing that helps me keep the cognitive functions working well. The same to stitching. Stitching gives me a lot of good cognitive rehearsal in a way. So yeah, so if I'm not stitching, I am playing video games. I'm currently gone back to Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn. It is an online game, a MMO, that is based on the Final Fantasy series, which is one of the series I truly love and adore. They have such good story in them. The universe is amazing. I just love it. So when Final Fantasy XIV was announced going to be an online game, there was no doubt in my mind that I was getting it. So I got it right away and was playing actively for a very long time. Then I was a little bit on and off. Then last year I was so into stitching, I didn't play any video games at all, almost. Which most likely is a good thing, because I think stitching is a better hobby for me than sitting and playing, if I'm thinking about what my body needs because of my illness. So, but yeah, right now, since I'm really struggling with my stitchy bug, it's better to play video games than just sit and watch TV or sleep in bed all day. So, because I had a few of those days where I have basically just been sleeping. So And there was also in the beginning of March a board game convention that actually helped a lot. Um, there is every year here in Haugesund, there is a board game convention each first quarter of the year, sometimes in that time span, normally February, March-ish, where it's basically Thursday, Thursday to Sunday. Thursday, the door opens, I think it's around 5 or 6 o'clock. And on the Sunday, the door closes at 2 o'clock, something like that. 2 p.m. So it's basically 4 days of playing board games where you meet up with people you last saw on the convention, and it's a lot of fun. I met a lot of people. It was a long time since I had seen last. I got to play a lot of fun board games, a lot of new fun board games. This year they had special events going on where games where you need more people to participate, like games having everything from 15 and higher people should and need to participate going on. So we have tried and always get people to those board games before, but this time, since there was events for this, that was a lot easier, and I love that because I really love those board games. It's very social board games, so they really do drain me, but at the same time it's good for my psyche. So, and they also have tournaments. So there is pre-hand, about a month before the convention is, you get to know the program where you can see what tournaments there is, and if you win one of the tournaments, you actually win a prize. That is, there is a big table full of different board games. A lot of them is supported by board game shops in the area, some closer and some further away. And it's not those normally board games everybody know, like Monopoly and Ludo and those. It's more uncommon board games, and in my mind those are a lot more fun also. So there is a big table, and depending on what tournament you did win, it's where on the list you are able to get a prize. And there is also prizes given for when people play board games, and if you just normally, and if you win, you can register that win, and one of all those in one section, one type of game, is being drawn to also get a prize. And right at the end, when everyone that is supposed to get a prize because they did win something got a prize, all our name tags are being put in a box and is being shaken around, and then they pull out the names, and then it's like, if you hear your name being called, run up to the table and find the board game you want, because if your name is being called, you win a board game. And usually what they manage to do is all the money you use to pay to enter the board game, the convention, they use to buy board games so people can win as a prize. So what? We pay what will that be? $20, something like that, for one person to go to Midwinter, which is the name of the board game convention. And like this year and also last year, each and every one participating won a board game. So winning the tournament, it's basically just making you being higher on the list of what board games you are able to choose. So this year we got board games that basically paid for our money to be there on Midwinter. And that is one thing I love with with this board game club that has this convention. It is a club here in my town, and they use all the money they get. Like here in Norway, if you have clubs and stuff, you get support from the Norwegian state, so they get not much, but a tiny bit of money. And all us that is members, because yes, I am a member, we pay a little fee each year to be a part of it, and everything goes against giving back to us that is a part of the club or on the board game convention they are doing. So you really don't feel like you're paying anything. It's more like you're just supporting the community, basically. So it's a lot of fun, and that did help. So that is most likely one of the reasons I am able to sit here today and not just crawl down in my bed and hide under all my blankets and pillows. So yeah, I have rambled on for long and even longer. I do hope you enjoyed. I really enjoy spending time with you guys, and I should just prioritize doing it more, because I was much better when I weekly talk to you guys. You keep me sane, even though basically when I am filming this, I'm just speaking to myself. But I don't know. I don't feel like talking to myself when I sit like this, because I know even though you're not listening right now, you are going to listen later on. So thank you so much. I have had a pretty decent increase in people joining my channel. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this almost 2 hour long video isn't scaring you away. Yes, I have a tendency to get long videos. That's also why I want to go back to the weeklies, to keep them a little bit smaller each time. And to all of you that has been following me all the time, thank you so much. I love you guys. You are just amazing. I really do feel the love and support from this community, and it means the world to me, or else I wouldn't be sitting here right now talking to you. So yeah. I will just say I will see you when I see you, and take care. I hope you have a fabulous March so far, and continue having a fabulous March. And when April comes, that you are having a fabulous time in April. I hope you get a lot of stitching done, or whatever else you love to do. So really take care. It's important to take care of yourself, even if it's just 10-15 minutes a day to sit and stitch just for yourself to keep your sanity, do it. You have my support. So, thank you all so much for watching, liking, commenting, and bringing the love. I will see you later. Goodbye.